Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Sharks get a much needed win on a back to back. They beat the Philadelphia Flyers 6-1, also including in there a Timo Meier hat trick, his first in his career. Add a Joel Shellman goal and a Mario Ferraro goal, and it is happiness for everyone. Speaking of which, if you want to be a part of the show, please go ahead and use the tealtownusa username on the Twitter machine. Since we are on Periscope, we will be using the Twitter quite heavily, so send your questions there. Also, hit us up on Instagram. When this does post to YouTube, you can, of course, put in the comments. Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, you name it, we got it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by the one, the only, Kevin Lacy. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm trying to figure out why my video looks so teal on the screen right now, but I think that's appropriate anyway. So I'm really happy to be here. I don't know what everyone's complaining about this season. I mean, this is my debut for the entire season, and the Sharks are 1-0, so that's as good as gold in my book.
Yeah, and you know, all I have to say to that is, what took you so long? And also joined by my cohort, Mr. Ian Reed. Ian, how are you doing this evening? It seems kind of like a mirror image of yesterday.
Significantly better. I thought
inverse image, excuse me.
Yeah, inverse. Yeah, significantly better. It's been a difficult 48 hours of hockey for me.
I think,
but it capped off on a good way.
Yes, for sure. I think this game really was, oh boy, the closest to a must-have as you can in December, right? But the boys, you know, coming out yesterday, we felt very upset, very grumpy at that overtime loss against the Kings. But all of a sudden, they've come out of the break with a possible 3 points out of 4. So, not bad. I mean, if you want to have a little bit of a silver lining, it's not bad, but it's also not good, and I don't think it's good enough yet. But we will be breaking down all of that tonight, and just what the boys did differently. Okay, so gentlemen, let's start off with you, Ian. What did you think of just kind of from the opening face-off to the 10-minute mark? What were your initial thoughts? And what did you see different that the Sharks did tonight than yesterday?
I mean, the first 10, like the first, I think 7 minutes in, they only had one shot on goal. So I was really nervous. I was like, oh God, here we go again. Like, they can't do this to me. Not tonight. But things obviously turned, and then they stayed turned, which was really nice for once. Cause at first it was almost, I thought, opening wise, like, it was almost a carbon copy of the start they got off to yesterday, where, you know, they had some zone time, but no real shots on goal. They had the one shot on goal. But yeah, I mean, but obviously the game got going, and once it didn't slow down. So that was nice.
Yeah, and I happen to agree with that opening assessment on the first 6 minutes. I felt that they kind of waded into it. They looked like the team that had just played back-to-backs, but they kind of got their footing and, you know, kind of traded some chances there in the latter half of that first period. What were your thoughts on the first 10 minutes of the game, Kevin?
Yeah, completely what you guys said. I was at last night's game, and just watching it felt exactly the same. So it was like, oh boy, I thought this was the team that is supposed to have a fire lit under them, and it was just kind of not flat, just there.
And
you know, I guess, you know, I a lot of times when I'm on the show, I talk about trends and saying it's better to trend upward in a win than trend downward. And the Sharks, you know, we've seen it before where they come out, have a spark to start the game or whatever, maybe get a couple early goals, and then they sit back. So in that respect, I'm okay. Of course, hindsight's 20/20, but I'm okay with how they ended up starting, because they did pick it up, and what a win. Badly needed, of course. But Yeah, just overall, I was going, with Martin Jones in net as opposed to Aaron Dell. Aaron Dell had a great game last night.
Hmm.
Martin Jones needed to have a great game to basically counter that, and I thought he played all right. I didn't think the Flyers tested him as nearly as much as the Kings tested Dell, but I was happy that Jones didn't let in that early goal in the first 5 minutes. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think, going into that, I think we were all kind of a little concerned as to where Jones's game was. I felt as if, he did have something to prove because Dell had put together a string of three really good games, and you figured, okay, Jones has been on the shelf for a little while, been getting some goalie guruing by Nabokov, and you kind of wanted to see where those dividends were going to finally pay off. And I think tonight, for sure, his lateral movement looked very good. I was very pleased with his angles, and to me, the biggest difference was kicking out those pads. He
Hmm.
he used his legs in the butterfly very, very well tonight, and it was a little bit shocking because for the most part, he's a very quiet goaltender. He doesn't make flashy saves. He doesn't flash the leather. Doesn't really do a lot of pad kicking out. But tonight, his kicks from side to side were very, very evident, and I felt he had a lot of power throughout his lower body tonight. So it was good to see.
That's a really good point, Eric, because that's something that I noticed on Aaron Dell last night. So I gotta think that comes from Evgeny Nabokov trying to change some fundamentals up with both goalies. So really good call there.
Yeah, I mean, we all remember Warren Strelo being the goalie guru here for such a long time, and Toskala and Nabby and Kiprasov all had very explosive pads while here in that butterfly.
Yeah.
So, I think it's definitely representative of their work. So in that first period, of course, the Sharks kind of trudge around a little bit, but 9:15 into the first period, a much needed, so this kid had been putting in the effort, time and time again, one of the most consistent Sharks of the entire season. Mario Ferraro with his first goal on the year, with a really, really heads up play by Barclay Goodrow on a kind of partial 2-on-1 there. You had a really nice slip of the pass kind of through against the defender, and Mario puts it into the back of the net. And, this was a long time coming for this kid, and you cannot say how much hard work and how much effort the kid has been putting in throughout the first half of the season. And I guess, Kevin, what were your thoughts, and just what did you see as far as him jumping up in the play and really trying to put some pressure on the defense for
Well,
Philadelphia?
Well, Mario Ferraro's edge work with his skating is just so tremendous. I mean, there were a couple of times where he was rushing up with the puck later on in the game that he just stopped on a dime. Like, and it's just like, wow, like you can see that, as long as the rest of his game comes through, he's going to be a solid NHL defenseman for a long time. One of the points that I really tried to put home during the preseason to everyone out there in the Sharks universe, was Mario Ferraro is a player who he will make mistakes. I mean, he's young. It's his first professional season. He's jumping right into the NHL. But he recognizes the mistakes that he makes and does his damnedest to try and correct those. And that goal was a microcosm of exactly that point. He turned the puck over. He even said it in his first intermission interview. He turned the puck over. He knew that and thought, oh boy, I need to go get this back. A little bit of puck luck led to that, but nevertheless, gets the puck back, makes a nice play over to, I'm trying to remember who the other winger was, but then the puck gets out to Goodrow, over to Ferraro. Great shot past Carter Hart's glove. So that's just an awesome way to score your first goal. The only thing I felt bad about with Ferraro was that just he got completely mauled by his teammates. Like he couldn't even really celebrate because everyone just came piling in.
And to me, that kind of really kind of sparked the team. I felt it felt like, the guys were really playing for something, playing for him after that goal. You could see just how excited everybody was, especially in the scrum and then going past in the shake line. So, yeah, good to see Mario Ferraro. And Ian, I mean, this is a guy that was somebody who we had on our radar, of course, kind of going into the season, but more known for his defensive prowess. But we've been continually see him use his shot from the edge of the point, getting it through. We've been continually seeing him jump up, and he's kind of finally rewarded for that. And kind of just talk about the balance between his offensive ability and his defensive ability.
Well, he's smart, right? Because he's not a guy like he knows when to make the jumps, and I think that's the key with Ferraro's game is he's got a very high intelligence on when he can jump into the offensive play versus when he shouldn't, and he really you're not going to see very often him jump into a play that he has no business being up in. And that's really going back to his college years. I mean, that was a big hallmark of his college game as well. Just a very, very smart player. He knows when, like, he has the shot and he can jump into the play, but he doesn't, that's not his sole thing. Like, he's never going to be like, the Eric Carlson or Brent Burns, because he chooses his spots very well and he's not going to jump into a bad play very often. And I think you saw that tonight. Him the way he jumped into that play, the way that play developed. I mean, it was great. But that's the one thing that I like about his game is he's a smart player. He knows when to pick his spots, and when he picks his spots, they generally work out for him. And finally, it worked out going into the back of the net. It was nice to see him get his first goal, because I think game in and game out, bell to bell. I mean, if you want to look at guys who you could hang your hat on, saying that, yeah, these guys have had a solid season completely. Mario Ferraro is one of the few guys you can do that for on this team.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And, you thought, okay, the Sharks kind of in that last half of the first period put together some good shots on net, and it ends up being a 5-7 split on the shots on goal in that first period. I think they had one high danger chance in that first period, but Martin Jones looking pretty solid tonight. Again, seeing him move back and forth from post to post, very good. Kevin, did you have something to add just before we wrap up on that first period?
Just, that the Sharks, I don't want to say survived, because they were the better of the two teams. Philadelphia, I mean, it was a theme throughout the night that Philadelphia looked like they were hungover on too much eggnog. But, the Sharks didn't necessarily play down to Philadelphia's level tonight. They kind of worked some things out and then headed in blazing into the second. That, like you said, Ferraro's goal really sparked them. Because just bringing up something from last night, the contrast was last night, to me, the two best players besides Aaron Dell were Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau, the two 40-year-olds. That's a problem when those are your two best players on the ice. Tonight, you get Mario Ferraro's goal, and then I know where you're going to go next. But, talking about youth, that's where the Sharks are going to have to start drawing from if they want to right this ship, right, not just this season, but going forward. So,
yeah, something just before, just another thing on the first period too. Like I thought the Sharks really recovered, because the Sharks had, I think, 15 hits. In the first period alone, and generally if you're laying the body that often, you generally don't have the puck. So it was a really strong finish to what wasn't probably their greatest period of hockey.
Yeah. I think they looked like the tired team in that first period. They really did look like the team that had just come off of a back-to-back. So, I think they held in there. I think that their defensive structure, though, quite frankly, was very good. I felt most of the shots were limited to perimeter shots. They marked their men going through the slot area. They had a couple of defensive breakdowns, but, there was always somebody either trying to commit a stick check, whilst they were in the slot, or getting a body on the man before, he got to Jones. So I think tonight they really bought into the defensive structure, and that really showed in that first period. Going
Yeah,
in,
yeah, for sure. I didn't feel like we really heard a lot of Philadelphia's main names,
No.
like Claude Giroux, JVR, Konechny. I mean, Provorov eventually gets a goal, but mostly we're hearing Carter Hart's name a lot, and that's a good thing.
That's a
yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, going into that second period, you had the warm and fuzzies, and it just continued on. Joel Shellman with his first NHL goal. This, mind you, his fourth NHL game, so it's great to see this Swedish journeyman get on the board for the Sharks and really do a good job, driving to the net. Radim Šimić with a beautiful pass, and Mario Ferraro in again on the scoring. And boys, I mean, the depth scoring tonight, I think, is the story, because these are two guys that hadn't had their goals yet. They get their goals, and all of a sudden you're starting to see the four-wave attack once again. I believe in that second period, though, we did have the Melker Karlsson hit to the puck to the back of the head on the PK, and oh boy, I mean, it looked bad, but I was telling Tamara that, boy, it could have been a lot worse if that puck was like maybe an inch lower. That hits him right on the back of the neck, no padding, nothing. So, it was a little gruesome, but definitely good to see that it hit him on the helmet, not in the neck.
Yeah.
Ian, I mean, why don't you go ahead and cover kind of what you saw in regards to Melker, and then kind of what you saw on the goal by Shellman.
I mean, the Melker Karlsson thing, I mean, it's an unfortunate play, right? I mean, obviously, if you're going to be in front of the net trying to, take away lanes and stuff, I mean, that's the risk you run. And, like, again, I mean, you said it best. At least it hit him like where he had some protection on the helmet there. I mean, that's still going to hurt like hell. And I can't imagine, I would be, I mean, I hope he's fine, but I wouldn't be shocked to not see him in the lineup on New Year's Eve. Like, obviously, like, so that's, it was a scary thing to watch, and hopefully it's nothing long term, and hopefully he's fine. But I hope at the same time that the Sharks take their time getting him back into the lineup, because head injuries are scary.
Yeah, and they do have, an Antti Suomela who was just kind of coming back from the injured reserve. And he was looking great, too, out there when he was getting his time. So, you can maybe ease him back in. But, Kevin, I guess switching kind of gears over towards the Shulman goal, you did see just another drive to the net, which we haven't been seeing from the Sharks. And it was, again, executed on a 2-on-1 down low. And, Shulman just picking his spot, going 5-hole with just a little tap. But it was really good to see the defense jumping up in the play.
Yeah, that was a pretty impressive goal to me. If there's one thing that the Sharks have done with great success this season, it's those home run passes. We saw Brent Burns do it 6-ish weeks ago. Brendan Dillon did it a couple of weeks ago. And now up the gut, Radim Šimić throws it, finds Joel Shellman. And it was funny to me because I don't know if that pass was intended for him or Evander Kane, who was about 6 feet behind Shellman. But nevertheless, I didn't expect Shellman to get his first NHL goal on a breakaway, because the one thing that I have found is he's not super flashy. He's efficient, but he's not super flashy. And I don't know if he has NHL speed. But, I mean, at this point, the Sharks needed a spark. Call him up. He's looked fine, and he was able to fend off the defender under pretty urgent circumstances, because that puck got caught in his feet, and he was able to kick it up. I don't necessarily know if Shellman really fully controlled that puck, but he recognized that it's now or never on that shot, and the placement was perfect, right between Carter Hart's legs. So really great to see. That's 2 out of the last 3 games that we've seen the fourth line of the Sharks, between Stefan Nason a couple games ago and now Joel Shellman, score really nice goals and really important goals. Every goal at this point, I think, is important for the Sharks.
Yeah,
so, that's an understatement.
Just an update on Melker. Not as bad as it looked at the time. A few stitches per Bob Boughner.
Yeah, again, it gets. you just thank the lucky stars that wasn't placed 1 inch below it, or that could have, that
Sure.
that had visions of like, fractured neck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oof, boy.
Yeah. And with Melker too, I mean, I was actually surprised he was in the lineup because I didn't think he was very good last night for the Sharks. And I thought that with the lineup changes that weren't to be, I thought he would be one of them. From an injury standpoint, you wish he was, but
Yeah.
but I hope that he is okay because that's a scary thing. And I'm glad that they did not let him go off under his own power because I've been in that situation before. Lost my vision with a blow to the back of the head, and obviously I'm fine now. But with Melker, just help him off. Don't rush things. Let him get his equilibrium going, and hopefully he'll be back here soon.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and as I think I've had a concussion like that before, back of the head, and they're not fun, and you feel nauseous, and you feel like your vision's going to go out, fuzzy if you're not seeing the stars or whatever, and so it was good to see him kind of skate off on his own power, and I think that holding him out was the best thing to do, and the Sharks though. They should take some credit for not missing a beat because a guy that was heavily rumored to be sitting out tonight and really who was in the doghouse, I think amongst a lot of the fan group for the last 10 games here was Timo Meier, and Timo comes in with his 12th goal. It was just a really well executed play down low. Brent Burns with just a great sauce pass over to Timo. Timo laying it in and getting his 12th on the season, and you could just see on his face the look of just pure elation for getting off of the schneid. So again, it was good to see him execute well on that play. Brendan Dillon also getting in on the scoring as well. But that tonight, guys, they played with a lot of piss and vinegar in their game. I felt like Kane and Timo and Barclay, Goodrow all were playing like they had something to prove. And Ian, I mean, you know how well Timo plays when Timo's pissy, and you know how well Kane plays when he's just really physically involved in the game. And I mean, what did you see? It just seemed like different players tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit nervous for Timo early on because he took that goaltender interference, but I'm like, oh God, it's gonna be this Timo response. We're gonna have Barracuda Timo. Oh God, this is not gonna be good. And no, but I mean, he played a really good game tonight. Again, the Sharks made a lot of hits. I don't know how many hits he had personally, but there was definitely a few that I recall. I mean, he's got to play with a little bit of an edge, but he's got to know where that line is, because if he plays with too much of an edge, then, bad things happen with Timo Meier. We've seen this time and time again, but if he can play with just that perfect amount of edge, things are going to go right for him. And it was a good response because, like, I'm a huge Timo Meier guy. Like, you guys know how much I love Timo Meier, but he was getting awfully damn hard to defend there the last couple of games. So this was, this is a big response game for him. And I think it was a game that he definitely needed. And I think that after everything went down, and, obviously there's the talk of the players meeting or the team meeting, whatever. Obviously you want to see some response from that. And tonight, Timo was a guy that had to be better, and he was. And that's what you need from your best players. It's cliche, your best players have to be your best players, but it's true. I mean, and Timo Meier was definitely one of your best players tonight.
For
And
sure.
the nice thing, guys, was that when Timo Meier got that first goal, it wasn't the monkey off the back. Oh, I can breathe a sigh of relief. Like, he kept going.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't stop. Even after, later on, we'll discuss what he did later on, but but he never stopped at all. So it was great. All three of those guys were really efficient. I mean, Bob Bugner just throw all the power forwards out in a line and see how it goes. Why not? So good lineup changes tonight. That was definitely the most effective line for the Sharks.
Yeah, and I think it's very complimentary. Each piece on that line, because Barclay Goodrow is definitely a player who is a good puck retriever and a good, face-off guy, but he doesn't really like to carry the puck through the zone. And
Right.
Evander Kane has always been that guy who's wanted the puck through the neutral zone, the guy that, really likes to start the play off, either play off the backboards or trying to, early in his career, definitely shooting for pads and, ricochets and things like that. Not so much, we haven't seen so much this year, but he has that in his repertoire. And then Timo, who's just a bull in the china shop. And so having those three together, kind of an interesting combination for sure, but complementary nonetheless. And so it was good to see them get on the board, and really, again, for those three, I mean, that was something that was really, really needed. So the team ends up posting up a 2 spot on the goal differential in that second period. The shots were 8-11 in favor of San Jose. Of course, San Jose takes a penalty late. Barclay Goodrow tripping against Ivan Provorov, which is of a little consequence, because going into that third period, Ivan Provorov with his 9th on the season, Claude Giroux and Travis Konechny with the assists on the power play. And boy, I mean, this was just a shot directly from the blue line. It had eyes for the back of the net, and there was nothing that Jones could do on that one. I think first you were dazzled by the footwork that Provorov was doing on the blue line. He was just dancing out there, and he looked like he really, really wanted a goal tonight. And Ian, I mean, structurally, did you see anything different on that PK, or was it just the fact of a really darn good player?
It was just a good player, good play.
Okay,
I mean, yeah, it was obviously not what you wanted to see starting the third period. Like, obviously, I think everyone got a little, clenched up a little bit there, and like, oh God, no, they can't, not again,
Not again.
please, not
Right.
again. I think I the not like this gif, I think, is what I posted after from the Matrix, the first Matrix movie.
Yeah, right. Groundhog
like
Day,
this.
right?
Not like this. So yeah, I mean, it was a good play. I thought Jones played a good game. Like, he didn't do anything like that super outstanding. Like, there's nothing that really stood out and said, like, and I think that's when Jones is best. Like, Jones, like, I think you said this earlier, where you're not really making the big flashy saves. I thought his positioning was good. I thought he was playing the angles better than he has in a long time. I thought, his aggressive, he had just the right level of aggressiveness a little bit there. A couple of scary moments, but you're going to get that with any goalie in net, and especially with Jones, the season he's had. Obviously, there's a couple moments where I'm like, oh God, this is not good. But credit to him, he played a good game tonight, and which is probably good, because I'm not going to lie, when I found out that Jones was starting today, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why are you doing this to me? Like, with the way that Dell's played, I was like, I didn't care at this point. And I know this is a little bit hysterical, but I'm like, I don't care if I ever see Martin Jones playing that again. And I'll watch Martin Jones play another game, and maybe a game after that. We'll take it game by game.
And I think that's all that they really can do, right? I mean, they're so far out of it right now that they can only really take this thing game by game. And Kevin, I mean, kind of going off of what we just said, I mean, you saw the response by the team. I believe it was 45 seconds later, Timo Meier with his 13th goal, Kane and Goodrow, like I said, really buzzing tonight and really responsive. What did you see on the goal, and what did you like more about this goal than you did on the first Timo goal?
First off, with Provorov's goal, I guess Melker Karlsson saved a goal, right? I mean, that was the same shot that he scored with that hit Melker in the second period. On Meier's second goal, I'm trying to remember if that was on an odd man rush on a 2-on-1, because I mean, this line was just generating odd man rushes all night. But what a saucer. It was on a 2-on-1. That's right. Mm-hmm. Kane did that beautiful saucer pass over Shane Gostisbehere's stick. And Kendall Coyne on the broadcast tonight said Gostisbehere was positioned perfectly. I don't know. I'll mostly agree with that. but Gostisbehere did a great job of defending it. But what a pass by Kane. I mean, just right over his stick, right onto the tape of Meier. And then Meier, a lot of his offense is quick strike offense. And that's what we saw with all 3 goals tonight. But just fantastic. Just a fantastic response, everything he needed, and the sigh of relief that us as fans needed.
Yes.
So that we had reason to believe that it would not be deja vu all over from last night. So.
And the night before that, and the night before that.
Yeah, Bleeding Teal adding to the broadcast. Thank you, Bleeding Teal. Very, very much balanced on the back end tonight, and just going through the numbers. Brendan Dillon with 1924 time on ice, Mario Ferraro with 1854, Mark-Edward Vlasic with 1927, Radim Šimić clocking in at 1732. Good to see that those knees are holding up. Erik Karlsson 21-25 and Brent Burns 22-14. Boys, I mean, they're pretty much all within 3 minutes of each other. That's damn good, and good to see the back end be balanced out, because it showed in their play.
Definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You want to take it, Ian?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I never understood the idea. Like, I think Brent Burns has played some pretty putrid hockey lately, and the response to that has seemed to be give him more ice time. So I'm glad to see that the ice time was more evenly distributed.
Yeah, that definitely, for sure. I think also giving Erik Karlsson a little bit of a break there too, not clocking these guys up, in the 25s, because that's just way too much time for either one of those two.
Yeah, and with the back-to-back situation, and Karlsson and Burns played a ton last night. I mean, Burns played 26 minutes last night, so I thought the deployment of the defense was exactly what I want to see. I think Ferraro's goal in the first period helped them, okay, you could see he was jumping tonight, so we can give him some extra time, So just overall, this was a very pleasant win.
Yeah, no.
In pretty much all aspects.
Yes, for sure. I mean, and then, just to continue the feel-good circus that was tonight's game, Timo Meier clocks in with his third on the season. This is his third on the night, his first NHL hat trick. Timo Meier with his 14th goal, and Kane and Goodrow hook up again on that particular play. And that one was just a tap-in by another laser beam. It was just an incredible pass through the crease, because that had to clear Carter Hart. So I think what ended up happening was I think it cleared underneath his right pad and onto the stick of Timo Meier, who just tapped it in, and the rest is history, boys. I mean,
it was very similar to a goal that Martin Jones allowed a few games ago, where if Carter Hart just sticks out the pad, maybe you create a rebound that goes to the front of the net, but you can save a puck that's in front of you. Once it gets behind you, you can't stop it. It was very similar to that goal where maybe it was St. Louis, where the puck kind of goes through the blue paint and ends up behind him, and then Karlsson doesn't take his man, where in this case Timo Meier was just wide open.
Yeah. I mean, it was very, very much wide open, and good to see them capitalize on that. And again, just a very, very great, well-executed download play, which we hadn't seen the Sharks really do in the month of December, and it's really good to see them go back to their roots, so to speak. And the other thing that was kind of interesting about that goal is that it came about 10 minutes after his second goal, and what was interesting was they stemmed the tide there, because you could see Philadelphia really pushing back and really carrying the play, and the Sharks were very much bend, don't break mode. And then when they got the opportunity to execute in the offensive zone, they did. And so, again, it just good to see them reliant upon each other, really reliant upon the structure that has been put in place. And you could definitely see it in their defensive play tonight. And it was a complete 180 from last night, where they seem to try to front pucks, but not give it all. They didn't really seem to be having the forwards fly low to kind of help out with the defensemen, but you didn't see any of that tonight. You saw forwards way down low in the zone, breaking up plays through the slot, which was very refreshing to see. I noticed Logan Couture and Tomas Hertl, who were reunited on that line and looking very good. Very good, but also very defensively sound. Kevin, I mean, what did you just see from that particular line, who kind of, went in a little bit of the shadows because they were, definitely not outplayed, but I think that they were outshined by the
Sure.
3-goal night of Timo.
Well, I think that was big for the Sharks tonight because lately the forwards really haven't seemed committed. I mean, Bob Bugner called it out straight up. Last night, for me, I thought the Sharks defensively were fine. Goaltending was great. I thought it was 100% on the forwards. So the forwards had better damn well sure throw out 200% effort tonight to make up for the 100% they didn't throw out last night. Tomas Hertl, I'm actually gonna borrow a line from you, Eric. I actually think Tomas Hertl's still banged up.
Yeah.
I think he's got something going on with his lower body. His skating's just not as good. But I mean, I think he has been pretty brutal defensively not just the last couple of games, but the last couple of weeks.
That goal in overtime last night, 100% on him.
I believe it was the last road trip where he kind of tweaked his
overtime,
knee.
Overtime.
He had gotten hit in the knee and he looked a little bit slower, and he had kind of just looked. He's looked off, and I'm wondering if he's dealing something with the knee again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same thing, but I think something's going on. But like Ian said, the OT goal last night, what is Hertl doing defensively? He just watches the puck.
Bailed on the play.
But even earlier in the game, I was seeing him just watching the puck. In the St. Louis game, I was at that too, and I watched Jordan Kyrou just skate right around him to start his eventual goal. Going back games before that, Hertl is nowhere to be found on the back check. And I'm going, this is not the Tomas Hertl that I'm used to seeing, the two-way responsible player that's kind of his forte. And so tonight, I think with being reunited with Logan Couture, who I think Couture has been fine defensively. I haven't had a problem with him. I think, Couture's the leader on and off the ice, or at least that's what you want, right? So kind of bring Hertl back into the fold, get some positivity going forward so that Hertl can get his game back. So I'm trying to think of who the third forward was on that line. Was that when Carlson on that line before he got hurt?
No, that was actually LeBanc. So it was LeBanc.
LeBanc.
Yeah, LeBanc, Hertl, and Logan. And LeBanc also had some nice snapshots. I liked his against the grain shooting tonight. And, I think that line is going to be the line that I kind of circle as the next breakout line, the line that really needs to push the play forward. Offensively, and I think that's going to be really key to any kind of designs the Sharks have to climbing back out of the hole. And then just to round it off with another feel-good goal, Patrick Marleau with his 7th on the season. Sorensen and Thornton with the assist there, and all of a sudden Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton are heating up just a little bit. I think they put the gas onto a simmer, so it's good to see them heating up just ever so slightly. And really, the Sharks putting together a complete effort tonight. Defensively, really responsible on the puck. Offensively, getting contributions from that Timo, Evander, and Barclay Goodrow line. Each having a multi-point night on the game. So just to round out the scoring tonight, Evander Kane with 2 assists. You have Joe Thornton with an assist, Marcus Sorensen with an assist, Barclay Goodrow with 3 assists tonight, Timo Meier, of course, with the hat trick, Joel Shellman with his first goal of his career. And I believe we have we have Mario Ferraro's first goal. We've got Also chipping in an assist, Brendan Dillon with an assist, Brent Burns and Radim Shimmick each with assists as well. So getting great contributions tonight. And, hopefully we'll see Melker Carlson be okay. We won't know anything probably for the next 4 or 5 days because that looked like that was going to be kind of a more long-term concussion. If anything else, he looked like he got his bell rung.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs stitches, so
yeah,
that speaks to that.
Martin Jones going 26 of 27 shots tonight for a .963 save percentage. So good to see Jonesy kind of rebound, and again, just putting together a nice win for the group, and kind of a little bit of a glass half full situation because 3 out of 4 points, which is last night being so dejected, to try and pull out a little bit of a silver lining, I think that's not bad. So if they can continue on a little bit of a roll here, collect some points in the next 10 games, they've got that important stretch out east. Maybe they can pull something together. But I think the first stop is to really get back to 500 hockey because they're still, under by 3 games.
It's crazy that it's just 3 games when you think about it. I mean, big picture, it's a good win, and obviously, you never want to crap on a win. But the positives you can take from tonight are they didn't fix something and have something else horribly leak all over the floor.
Right.
That was one of the positives from tonight, where it's finally a game where I don't have to say, well, they fixed this, but then this completely fell apart and ended them. That's a positive. But
what else is also a positive? Jumbo tying Adam Oates in the all-time assist list.
Yeah, that's a nice feather in your cap. The thing is, this is start, right? But it's dangerous because you don't want to read into it more than this is a start. This is something you can build off of. It obviously after the Kings game, it didn't seem like there was anywhere lower to go. So you don't want to get too carried away here. It was a good game, don't get me wrong, but the Sharks are going to be the trap game for a lot of teams. And the Sharks have got to take advantage of that because a lot of teams are going to come in here now with the way the Sharks have played this season. And they're going to come in and you're going to be able to hopefully catch them taking the hand off the wheel a little bit. And if that's how the Sharks are going to have to fight their way back into this thing, they've got a long way to go. This is by no means don't forget planning the parade route. This is no means go put your money aside for playoff tickets. We're not even that far yet.
Oh no,
but
I think
it's a good start.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to start somewhere to dig out of the hole, and I think that's what you got to start doing. Is it's the period by period, it's the game by game kind of management of expectations, really understanding where you're at insofar as the standings, but also realizing where your game is, where each individual's game is and where they are as a collective, which is going to be super, super important. And, AJ, you got to love AJ with all of the snapbacks there. Adam Oates has said Jumbo disrespected the game by tying his assist record. And, I think, guys, I think getting also things to play for. Getting the team to have little snippets of playing for each other, whether it be guys getting their first goals or pulling out their buddies in the pipes who haven't been doing well this season. I think that's what the team is going to be needing to continue, right? I think they need to repair whatever issues has been going on because we've been hearing reports left and right out of the dressing room, whether it be boisterous comments after a game or team meetings or what have you. But now I think this is really the time to kind of come together and really, put together a good stretch going into the All-Star break. Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This season, all right, everything that has happened has sucked so far.
Yeah.
But that was then, this is now kind of thing. You have to have that game by game mentality. You guys have pretty much said it already, but this is a game to build off of, but you have to build off of it. It can't
Right.
be a one-off at this point. The Sharks are out of time for one-offs. I mean, the Barracuda are doing the same thing where they had their best win of the season a week ago, and then they lost 8-1 yesterday. Like
Right.
both teams in this organization are having the same issue right now. So hopefully the Sharks can do what the Barracuda haven't been able to do and go on the road, get some more wins behind them, and not wins at the end of this road trip. We need wins now. So
Yeah.
all in all, great effort, but it's one.
Yes,
It's
it
one.
is.
And you can completely, like, if you don't repeat this effort next game, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So,
Now, who starts in net the next game though?
you know what? I think Jones. Definitely.
Winning, you're in.
Yeah, when you're in, exactly. But you know what? After a win, I think it's always it's a good time for that special moment of the night.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
Gotta play the sounder.
Has to play the sounder, right? So going through the tonight's action, the Stars beat the Avalanche 3-2. Rangers beat the Maple Leafs 5-4. Lightning beat the Canadiens 5-4. Panthers beat the Red Wings 5-4. Penguins beat up on the Predators 6-4. Hurricanes beat up on the Capitals 6-4. The Canucks beat the Kings 3-2. The Knights beat the Yotes 4-1. And the Sharks beat the Flyers 6-1. So where that puts us in the standings, so far the Sharks are at 37 points. That puts them 7 points out of the wild card. So they did make up a little bit of ground, but of course Vancouver has a game in hand. And boys, just looking at the Pacific Division, I mean, my goodness, Arizona, got out to that amazing stretch for a little while leading the division, but Vegas has stormed back. Edmonton's completely fallen out of the playoff picture. Calgary has seemingly found something that they're working with, and Vancouver and Winnipeg in the wild card spots. It just seems like nobody has really gotten solid footing, except maybe over in the Central, where it's been consistently St. Louis, Colorado, and Dallas in those top three spots. But boys, I mean, let's just speak quickly to the volatility that is the Pacific Division, and how this thing is still, I mean, amazingly, it's still up for grabs.
Outside of Vegas, I think Vegas has probably turned the corner at this point, as much as no one wants to hear me say that. I think they've probably turned the corner at this point. I thought this was going to be their division to take the whole time, so it doesn't really shock me that they've kind of rounded into form at this point. But everyone else, yeah, that's the scary thing, right? Like, again, you don't want to get too high after a game like this, but you can, if you squint really hard, you can see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel if this isn't a one-off.
Yeah, 3.5 games is basically what you're out. So, just getting back to 500 will get you in striking distance. Kevin, I have no idea what to make of this Pacific Division. Do you see anybody? Even Vegas, who's leading division only by 2 points, and they've played 2 extra games. Again, it just seems topsy-turvy.
I thought nobody wanted to win the division last year, but apparently, Chris in the chat, and I think Felix may have commented on this in the chat too, but Chris talking about, the 600 win percentage the Sharks need the rest of the season that Kurz was talking about, or something along those lines. And I think Chris said the Sharks don't necessarily need to win 600% or 60% of their games. I agree with that. The Sharks shouldn't focus on 60%. They should just focus on
they just got to focus
some
game to game.
Yeah.
Start by winning some games and getting yourself into playoff contention.
Right.
If you get yourself in playoff contention, then you worry about getting into the playoffs. But you got to get into contention first. So, the danger side of, no one really wants to grab those playoff spots is, when someone does, don't get left behind.
Right.
So the Sharks have to start winning right now. So whether it's Vegas, Arizona, Edmonton, whatever, Sharks, don't worry about that. Just worry about yourselves right now.
Right. And I mean, Ian, it's shaping up to be maybe an 89 to 92 point kind of season that will get you into the playoffs. Yeah, I know. It seems pretty low. I mean, everybody's kind of pegging on that 95 points, but with the way, how volatile just the Western Conference in general has been, I mean, Nashville hasn't really gotten a foothold yet. I mean, Minnesota's surging. It's just I don't know what to make of this conference right now, and I don't think anything is really solid outside of the top three in the Central.
Yeah, I mean, again, you just got to win a couple of games and hope everything else takes care of itself. Like I said, I still think that Vegas is the lock, and then everything else is jump ball. But 92 points today, but all it takes is a team to just go on a 5-game winning streak, and that changes very quickly.
Yeah, and Chris, JWS, very much true. If you win 8 of 9, or you get points in 10 straight, the mountain of the remainder of the season is nowhere near as scary. And you're right. It's. I think as Sharks fans, we really have to kind of look at the mile, the mile markers instead of looking at everybody else around them. Just get to the mile markers, and we'll get this thing kind of wrapped up. But boys, let's get your final thoughts.
The Sharks have the roster to do it. I mean, I still don't believe in them as much as last season. I think the Sharks lost too many key pieces, but the Sharks have the talent to be in the thick of it. And so this is not acceptable right now, but let's get it going.
Yeah, Radio Rob, I think you're echoing everything here in Sharks fandom. The team is bipolar. I feel like the broadcasts have been bipolar insofar as what we've been putting out, because one day it's like the sky is falling, but the next you can start to squint to see something. But again, I think we should all put the very much of the caution blinders on right now, because it's this team
right. It's one game. It goes back to what we said already. You have to. This game can be a building block, or it can just be a one-off.
Right.
And we're not going to know for a couple more games. I mean, I'm not holding my breath that this is the playoff team. I wouldn't. I'm not running out to my bookie and being like, Sharks playoffs money.
But we want to be hopeful, because we want to have fun podcasts for you guys to subscribe to.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe. Ian, let's get your final thoughts, kind of what your ideas are going into the next game, and where the people can find you.
Well, you can always find me on Twitter machine at Ian Blogs Hockey. It's really difficult, right? Because I've had a really hard time, where I feel like I've completely chicken littled, and it's this has been probably the hardest season I've done this, because it's hard to keep you want to be honest, but you just don't want to be a huge chicken little. The sky is falling. Oh my God, everything sucks. But and I've gotten messages from people that have been really complimentary, so thank you for that, because I probably needed it. My final thoughts, really, honestly, like I said, it's a good game, but it's only one game, and the season's far from over. But you need to build now. This game needs to become 2 games, needs to become 3 games, needs to become 4 games. You need to start accumulating points.
How about another 8-game winning streak? That might cure all.
Well, maybe talk to me in an 8-game winning streak. If we can get that going, then maybe we can be a little more positive. But there's
sunshine and butterflies, right? Kevin, kind of your final thoughts on where the people can find you.
I'm going to go a little off the board just because I haven't been on the show this season. First off, Darren Stevens with this crazy stat that Joe Thornton tied Johnny Busick for the most assists with a team he was traded to in NHL history at 794 assists with the Sharks. So and that's pretty cool.
Johnny Busick being to Boston?
I didn't look that far into it.
I think Boston.
Oh, it is Boston. Yeah. Actually, yes, it is here in the tweet that Darren Stevens put out.
Yeah.
So good call. But for those of you who are maybe listening on iTunes or SoundCloud or anything like that, I'm at Kevin Lacy 22, and I have another podcast on this channel on Teal Town USA called In the Reef, where I discuss the San Jose Barracuda. Unfortunate news came from the Barracuda yesterday when Captain John McCarthy had to suddenly retire after suffering a stroke 2 weeks ago. John McCarthy spent all but 1 year of his career in the Sharks organization. Longtime leader with this team, captain, former fourth line player with the Sharks. Very sad circumstances. We knew something was up because he had actually gone back to Massachusetts where he lives in the middle of the season. So we knew something was going on. But thankfully, he seems to be okay or going to be okay. He's an assistant coach now, named yesterday. And we'll see how he does going forward. The Barracuda now have 3 assistant coaches with no actual head coach. But Pucks and Pauses tomorrow. So if you want to go see some more hockey, hopefully really put a stamp on this weekend of hockey, go check that out. It's an afternoon game, lots of fun. Bring your dog. So again, I'm Kevin Lacy, and you'll see me in the Reef.
Also, don't forget, if you're looking for hockey, that's good hockey to watch, World Juniors.
Yeah, World Juniors for sure. And as far as my final thoughts go, again, I think getting those stepping stones, getting something to play for, continuing to play for each other, I think is going to be key. And let's just continue the good times rolling, gents. And as far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's Eric, spelled with the right way with a K. Landi, Landi. I'm Italian, not French. And from all of us over at Teal Town USA, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. And as always, folks, keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real, Teal. Thank you, and we'll see you after the next game.